episode 4. This is episode 4 of Impostor Syndrome. And I think something just happened with the recording, but it's okay. We didn't miss anything. We had an issue on the last podcast. Introduce yourself.
What's going on, everyone? I'm Matt Powers. I'm an actor. Been working on this for over. I've been acting probably for a little over 10 years now, and starting to make some moves. And I'm just very happy to be on the podcast today, and just kind of bring to you a little bit about my life as an actor and just all the things that I've had to overcome to get to the point where I'm at currently.
Cool. So just kind of give you because we didn't really talk beforehand about how the podcast works.
Okay.
It's pretty raw. You don't have to do any. You don't have to censor yourself at all unless you want to. Just yeah. But also keep in mind it's not edited, so don't say anything you don't want to say.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
And this is also going to be interesting because the past 3 episodes that I've done have been with people that I've known for years. Whereas this one, I've only met you once, maybe twice. So it'll be interesting because we don't have a rapport yet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this will be a test of my skills as an interviewer too.
There we go.
So, yeah, I guess just tell people a little more about yourself, like what your experience, like your acting experience, what are you known for, or what you've worked on.
So basically, I started out. Obviously, I did all my plays in middle school and high school, and I found acting, and acting also found me because I used to be bullied a lot, and where I used to perform at my middle school, it was a big stage and it had a huge platform. So anytime I was on stage, all the people, that were watching me, it seemed like I was always looking down at them. And I always liked that because obviously, when I got off stage, I would get constantly picked on about really stupid little things, and that used to bother me. But when I was on that stage, like I felt like I was overlooking everyone, and that felt like the greatest feeling in the world. And that's kind of when I started to, really take acting seriously. And I like I said, I did do my plays in high school, and then I took a little bit of a break because I was trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do. And I worked at a couple retail stores, just trying to find my way in life, just trying to find my path. And then I happened to stumble upon this article in the paper of someone looking to mentor, up and coming actors. So I jumped at the bit. I called the number, and I worked with a man by the name of Sam Kitchen, and he was my first mentor as an actor. He taught me a lot about, how to, present yourself on camera, and he really helped me build the shell of the actor that he knew that was inside me. And I thank him so much for that. Unfortunately, things didn't end up working out, so we had to kind of go our separate ways. But from then on, I found this school called the New Jersey School of Dramatic Arts in Bloomfield, New Jersey, and I ended up working with some of the best acting teachers that I've ever worked with. They really, really helped me and really pushed my acting career to a whole nother level. And just the people that I worked with were just absolutely amazing. And I ended up graduating top of my class from there. And then from there, I got an audition for a commercial for New Jersey Transit. And that's when I first finally got on camera, finally got a lead role. And it's just been a process ever since. I've it hasn't been easy. I'll say that. But it's been quite an experience, and I'm very excited for what's to come ahead.
Cool. Do you go out and do a lot of auditioning? Do you do it mostly online, or do you do it on like word of mouth or in person?
I've been trying to do. I mean, I have been trying to do word of mouth. I did do a little bit of a web series. Well, I did one episode of a web series, and that was from word of mouth. But I was on Backstage, and there was a couple auditions that I lined up for. One commercial in particular that I was supposed to go on last year ended up falling through, which is that's just it happens. I guess they don't get the funding, or it just it just doesn't pan out. So, but I kept trying on Backstage. I wasn't really seeing much luck, and I was told to go on a couple different ones like Casting Networks and Actors Access, because you have to be really careful, especially now. Because you have people on Facebook that are posting like, "Oh, audition for the new, um, the new Sopranos prequel." It sounds great, but then when you click the link, and you have to be very careful because nowadays, like they'll they will these people will do anything possible to get money out of you, and you never want to pay for an audition unless you're represented by an agent. So you just have to be really, really careful. So obviously, I know a couple people who definitely have fallen for that. Where like, oh, I found this thing and it sounds great and everything, and it turned out to be fake, and it was just a way of money being taken from them. But mostly word of mouth, and then just still Backstage. But I'm working more on Actors Access and Casting Networks.
Do you have an agent yet, or
not yet? This film I'm working on is called Misidentity, and that's actually my first short film, where eventually, after it's completed, I will be able to not only become SAG, but I will be able to get represented by an agency as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't say it before, but I met Matt through the first guest I had on here, Kevin, because Matt's going to be acting in that movie that we talked about on that podcast. So speaking of which, how'd you meet Kevin?
So I met Kevin. I went to high school with Kevin, and I wouldn't say that we were like best friends at the time. Like I just knew him. He was in my sister's grade because he's 2 years younger than me, and but I always kept in contact with him, and there was a point where we just kind of like lost touch, and fast forward to about a year ago, no, 2 years ago, I was at Applebee's with a buddy of mine at the time, and we were working on a play that he casted me in, and so I was talking to my buddy about how I was struggling as an actor, and I wanted to start making moves, and it just wasn't happening for me, and I was getting frustrated. So I guess Kevin overheard, because he was the booth next to mine. So as we were leaving, I see him, and he's talking about how he's in film, and he's trying to, he's just so busy lately. And he said, give me a call, and we'll talk about upcoming projects that I may have for you. And I said, great. So then I called him the next day, and he said, yeah, we'll be in touch. And then there was a period of time where I didn't hear from him. And I'll be honest, I was getting frustrated. I'm like, this is kind of bullshit. Like, this kid, he says that he's going to get back to me, and, I don't hear from him. So, it is what it is. So I just kind of let that ship sail. And then 4 months after the last time I texted him, I was coming out of the gym, and then here he comes. And we just start talking. He goes, hey, I actually wanted to talk to you. I have a film for you that I want you to take a look at. So I said, yeah, absolutely. Let me take a look. And it was a Star Wars fan film where that he wrote, and he wanted me to play the main character, which I was honored to. And he told me to, put on 20 pounds, grow out my beard, and be ready to shoot by January of 2017. And I was like, okay, great.
So yeah, that one fell through.
And
I was going to work on that, but that's how it is.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah, anything Kevin's working on, I'm involved with.
That's good to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've known him for probably almost 5 years at this point. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did we've done 2 shorts together. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
No, that's really cool. But but yeah, obviously that fell through, and then obviously I was kind of like I was a little pissed off about it because here I am getting ready for this film, and then I get a call being like, "Oh, hey, bro, it's not happening." And I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" So
That's the business.
it is the business. I'm learning that, as I continue, and then he told me about misidentity, and he said, I wrote this part for you, and I read the script, I loved it, and now here we are, a year later, about to start finally filming it. So it's exciting.
Yeah. It's sometimes it's just that patience. And even
Yeah.
after it gets made, you still have to have that patience. You're still gonna have to go out and audition for stuff all the time.
Oh, 100%. I mean, while doing this, I'm also working on a web series that I was casted in, that I film. It's on Saturdays. I go up to Dickman's Ferry, Pennsylvania, and I work with great director and Brian Canning, and the cast has been tremendous. One of the actors, Eric Grossman, great guy, very professional. He's someone who anyone I work with, Mike, to be honest with you, is like they just challenge me on a whole nother level, and that's what I look for when I work with different people. What can you bring to the table, so I can kind of level up in a way, if that that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. What was I about to ask you? I was gonna ask something and it left my mind.
Hey man, I've been there. I'm always thinking of something, and then next thing you know, you're just like, oh shit.
Yeah. It's the dangers of podcasting. It's a red light. What do they call that? Red light.
Oh, I know.
I think we both have it right now.
Yeah.
So whatever. It's like you just freeze up when
we'll come
record's
back
on.
to it. We'll be talking about something else. You'll be like, that's it.
Yeah. Or during the headlights or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So where in Jersey are you? You're in Newton?
Andover.
Oh, okay. So you're close to Kevin.
I'm right by Newton. I'm 5 minutes from Kevin.
Have you thought about coming out to New York?
Definitely, New York. I'm trying to decide what's best for me, whether to go out to New York, or go out west to LA. I'm still trying to figure that out. Just it's just those decisions are coming up soon, but I wanted to start getting more work consistently, because if I move to New York, if I move to LA, if you don't have a body of work, I mean, in this business, you're a little guppy in an ocean filled with sharks. So you gotta bring something to the table, and if you don't have that, then it can end your journey like snap of a finger.
Well, your journey never really ends.
It never really ends.
It really never ends unless you let it.
Like, that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah.
I heard a great quote from this guy Brian Satterwhite. He's actually the reason I became a composer. He's another film composer from Texas. When I listened, he was on a podcast I was listening to called "The League of Extremely Ordinary Gentlemen."
Okay.
Yeah. So they had him on, and they asked him something to the effect of like, just talking about failing, and he says, the only reason you fail is if you gave up somewhere along the way. And when he said that, that really stuck with me, and that was the moment for me that I was like, because I'd been kind of wallowing around like with it. I was like, what do I want to do with my life? I was trying to do some other things like working on guitars, but I was starting to feel like maybe I should try to I want to become a film composer, but it seemed like a pipe dream. Like it seemed like a ridiculous thing to want to do.
Right.
But I heard him say that, and it was just like, that's it. I have to do this now. So that was 8 years ago, I want to say, I heard that podcast, and
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. I kind of I have that in my head all the time, like what, because I have a lot of I've had quite a bit of self-doubt with that, where I'm like, do I really want to do this? So when I keep pursuing this, and then I bring that in, it's like, yes, yeah, got to
Yeah.
keep at it. Yeah.
You got to do what you're passionate about. That's the biggest thing. There's too many people in the world today that they settle for something that they don't want,
Yeah.
and then they bitch and they moan and complain and like, why am I not doing this? Why am I not ahead? Well, because your mindset is not in the right place. Mindset is everything.
Yeah.
I've even with acting, it's just like you have to be in that mindset where it's like, you're going to struggle, you're making sacrifices, but at the end of the day, you're doing what you love. And that's what should drive you every single day. Just like, you making making the podcast, if this is something that you're like, you love and you're passionate about, like, just go for it and do it. Doesn't matter if you fail, at least you tried. And there's, I love quotes, and there's one by, I think it was Aristotle, who said the problem isn't that we don't aim high, or we, oh, that's right. The problem is that we don't aim high and miss. The problem is that we aim low and we hit. Which basically means that, we're setting these little goals. We're not going to our full potential, but we're settling for like, okay, I can do this, and I can do really, I can do something, very well. But at the same time, am I using my full potential? Am I really going above and beyond? Am I really living my life's purpose? And there's so many people that are not. And as an actor, and just as a person, like, I care a lot about people, and I like to see others winning around me, not having such a negative mindset. And one of the biggest things, from studying, the greats like Grant Cardone and Tony Robbins and Napoleon Hill and all those people, is that they're always asking, what is my why? Or what is your why? What is your why of why you want to do this? Why you want to do that? And my why is very simple. It's people, or it's the people around me. Because if I can show them that coming from where I came from to going to where I'm going, that it's possible, then I'm living my why. I'm living my purpose. Like, I'm giving people hope, because I really would love to be able to have the saying, if Matt Powers can do it, then why can't I? Like, I want to inspire people to go after their dreams, to go after their goals, because there's just too many people who don't. And then they complain, and there's no real reason for them to get ahead. But I mean, you have to be happy, but I don't believe you have to settle.
No. Have you ever heard of Gary Vaynerchuk? He's an entrepreneur.
I love Gary V. He is the man.
Okay, yeah. There's one. What was the thing he talks about? I just had it in my head and it just left. Where he's talking about. It was to the same effect of what you were just saying. Where he goes, if somebody else who's had a similar or the same situation as you has done it, then you have no excuse why you can't do it yourself.
Amen.
Yeah. His I've read all of his books except for the wine one, because I don't drink wine, so I don't really care.
I'm not a huge wine fan either.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, his books have helped me tremendously, especially the Thank You Economy. That book is the Bible. It is the Bible.
Okay. I'll have to check that. Like, did you read Crush It?
Yeah, and Crushing It.
Crushing It. That's, I heard really great things about that.
Yeah, so, I just reread it a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I love books because I always love learning about things, and like, that's applied knowledge is power. You know how they say knowledge is power? It's great to have knowledge, but if you don't apply it to your life, then it's not really knowledge in my opinion. It's okay, a fact, But if it's something that can propel you to do, whatever it is you want to do, and you're not using what you just learned to do said thing, then what are you doing?
Yeah, you can regurgitate maxims all you want. It's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I love all sorts of books. There's I have a whole bookcase full of. One of the best books that I did read was Relentless by Tim Grover, and I'm a big sports fan. So he has this method that there are people who can be good, great, and unstoppable, and he calls them coolers, closers, and cleaners. And just one example from his book is, I'll put it in like basketball terms. I don't know if you're big into sports.
Not really at all.
That's fine. So he would say, like, coolers have a good game, closers have a great season, cleaners have a great career. So it's just like you can never call yourself a cleaner, but at the same time, you can call your friend a cleaner. You can call your parents a cleaner, because there's always, it basically means like there's always a next level. Like there's never just one level where you're just like, okay, I've hit it, like I've hit my peak, quote unquote, and now I'm good. No, there's another level. Just like as an actor, there's just because you win an Academy Award or you win 2 or 3 or 4, there's still another level. So that's just how my mind is just programmed. I always look for that next level, that next challenge, that next obstacle, that next opportunity.
Yeah, there was something Mark Hamill said a couple years ago that really stuck out to me. Was I think somebody asked him, like, do you get bored of certain roles, or something like that? Like, how do you stay interested? Like, being as big as you are, how do you stay interested in certain roles? And what he said was, he goes into every role as if it was his first acting job.
I like that.
Yeah. So it's like everything, it's like the first one you ever get. Because that is true. Like, that first job you get, like, you have that hunger and you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm on a movie.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure you've had this. I've had this. I've done some movies where I got on and I was like, it's like, I'm at the same time, like, I realized at the time, I'm like, why am I miserable about this? Because, like, I'm getting to do a movie, even though I know this movie's not that good, because I've done a few that are. But yeah.
In case they're listening, I did the one series where I made a little cameo appearance, and the TV show was horrible. The acting was terrible. I just, like, it just didn't sound believable. Like, the storyline was just, it was dumb. That's how I can put it. But I still did it anyway, because you know what? You'd rather be a part of the experience, and you're gonna work on films or TV shows or commercials where you're just like, all right, this is not the greatest, but it's still work. And the one thing I try to stress with my career is to always stay humble and stay blessed and grateful, because at any moment this can be taken away from me like that. Yeah. So not get a big head, like, just constantly focus, keep working, and just, pay my dues. And, and when I get to where I know I'm going, then, I can work on, making some changes that I'd like to see, moving forward. But that's the biggest thing, whether you're an actor, whether you're, a teacher, like, you just never want to get a big head, big ego. Like, you always want to stay humble and grateful. Because then that's the problem. You think, like, I'm the man, the myth, the legend, and no one can touch me. Yes, someone can touch you, and it's going to be the wrong person. And next thing you know, your life can go from firing on all cylinders to cold as ice. So I just keep reminding myself about stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I recently had something with that. I had a project that I was working on. I'm not going to get into the details. At least not yet. Maybe in a couple of podcasts I'll talk about it in more, so that people can learn from my mistakes. But I had a project and I screwed it up really bad. and wound up ruining it. And I'm still reeling from it, but like at the same time, I'm still trying to pick myself up and continue on after it, even though it was a pretty rough spot.
Yeah,
But
it happens. Yeah. But it's a learning lesson. Like, I don't believe that we win and lose. I believe we win or we learn. So every one of our failures is just a learning lesson of, what not to do next time. So,
but it's really hard in the moment. Like for that one, it was hard only because it was something that was my fault. It was a fault in my own judgment. Mainly because of my own insecurities that kind of caused me to sabotage something. So that's why that one hit me particularly hard. Like, if a project just falls through, it really doesn't bother me.
Okay.
Like, if I'm working on a movie and that one falls, it's like, whatever. That one definitely got me because it was my fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, I mean, you can't beat yourself up over it either. I mean, yes, it may have been your fault. Yes, it may have brought you down a little bit, but that's the thing. You got to pick yourself up and you got to rally.
Yeah.
Because if you consistently focus on what you did wrong, then, like I said, with mindset, then your mindset's going to be all out of whack, and then you're not going to be ready for the next project and the next thing that could really boost your career. And you don't want that. You want to be ready to go. You want to know that you had failures, but those failures eventually turned into successes.
Yeah, and it has resulted in me making a lot of positive changes. Like it's forced me to deal with a lot of issues that I've had for 28 years that I wasn't dealing with. So those kind of catastrophes can lead to some good things. Like, I wouldn't have made these changes if it weren't for that particular situation.
That's great, man.
Yeah. And like I said, maybe in a few more episodes, I'll actually break down in detail what happened, where I went wrong, because it was something I'd like people listening to hear, to learn from.
Exactly, because you know what? Like I said, with experience, people need to hear, people need to hear the story. So, because they're either going to really learn from it, or they're going to be inspired by it. Because there's so many people that can't admit that when they're wrong. It doesn't matter if it's a director or a casting agent. Like, some people are just way too proud to admit, like, okay, I fucked up, I made a mistake. I'll be the first to admit it. I will, if I screw up, I'll apologize to the cast. I'll apologize to, whoever. If it's on me, then I'm just like, okay, you know what? I did. It is what it is. And now we move forward.
My problem is, I don't have a hard time at all admitting when I did something wrong. But when I have a real hard time letting go after I've done something wrong. Like, I will beat the hell out of myself for sometimes years, and that's what I'm really trying to work on. But it's tough when when that's been the habit for your whole life.
Hey, look, you're talking to the president of beating themselves up and holding on to things. But I got to a point now where, where I have to realize, like, hey, there's nothing I can do about it. What I've learned and what's helped is that you're not always going to be the good guy in everyone's story. Sometimes you're going to be the bad guy. And one of the worst things that I have done to another person is, and I still think about it, but at the same time too, like, I could have handled myself a lot differently, but I didn't. I ended up breaking up with someone over on vacation, and let me tell you something: you don't ever want to do that, ever.
No.
It was the wrong time. It was the wrong moment. Like, There was nothing really wrong with the girl either. It was me being stupid and being an asshole, and we were going to Miami for this entrepreneurial conference, and I really wanted to go, and she was all for it, like supported me, the whole works. But I don't know what it was, like my ego just kind of was a little too big at the time, thinking like, I'll do better than her and this and that. And so we got to the hotel that we made reservations at, sat in the room for a little bit, and mind you, the conference was tomorrow, the first day, and I broke it off with her. Oof. And she cried, and she it was not a good weekend for her. And I mean, I had a good time at the conference, like that's what I really wanted to experience, but
it must have been a rough flight home.
Oh, she wrote me a whole letter sitting next to me. I used to have it, and then an ex-girlfriend told me to take it out. So
that's probably the smart idea.
Oh, definitely. It was definitely the smartest idea, but I found out recently that the girl who I broke it off with is now actually pregnant with some other guy. So I'm happy for her, but you should see her mom. Out. What's up?
Oh, that works out then.
Yeah, exactly. So I saw her mom all the time because she was actually my bank lady for a little bit, and and so she, I was always asking how's she doing, and she goes not so good. So you do feel like an asshole, and but at the same time too, you gotta own up and you gotta admit it. And I tried messaging her, and I did talk to her, and she just said, I think it's best if we don't ever talk ever again. And I can't blame her, because I mean, I kind of broke her heart out of nowhere, especially on vacation. You just, for everyone listening, guys, don't do that.
Yeah. I had a friend that broke up with a girl at prom.
Okay.
Yeah, that was rough. The funny thing was, she actually took it better than he did. Like, because obviously she was been out of shape for a little bit, but then she just went back into and started, enjoying herself partying. He he kind of ran off.
Yeah, hey man, I've been there.
Yeah, high school relationship,
obviously, but I've gone on a couple of dates, and I've had that thing too where it's just like, you don't care as much as the other person, and then you get all these text messages like, what are we doing, and you learn to admit that that even the good guys can be assholes, but the thing that's different is that eventually the good guys will hopefully get a taste of karma, and that will change their life completely. Yeah. That's at least what happened to me. I was working at a liquor store, and I just was like talking to different girls, and I had one person say one thing to me that absolutely changed my life. She just called me a player, and everything from that point on, like my life just kind of hit like a personal rock bottom. I wasn't acting, I wasn't taking anything seriously. I was upset, and I ended up going to counseling to work on myself and kind of rebuilding back up to, who I am now. But one of the things that I've learned is that, like I said, that's why I said you stay humble and don't take anything for granted. It doesn't matter if it's career opportunities or, being in a relationship, like, everything, you got to be grateful for what you have until you get to what you want. So
yeah, gratitude is so important.
150%.
Yeah, I mean, like, I live in Staten Island, and I live in a very small room. Like, what you see here is it. Like, this is how small, it's a very humble existence, but like, I am so happy to be here. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm closer to my career, whereas I used to drive in from living with my parents for years in New Jersey, up by you.
Okay.
I lived in Vernon, so I would travel out to New York all the time, and now I'm like so close. It's like it's so much like I can't tell you how grateful I am that I have this situation.
That's
Even
that.
the,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
I'm still trying
and
to get still trying to get out of my house. But it's a process. Like I can't. Like that's one of the things I've been struggling with, just trying to get out of the house and trying to get my own place. I got a good job now. My career, my passion, my career is starting to take off. So it's a step by step process. So, but
yeah.
I get it.
It's rough for guys at our age because that was a really rough thing for me. Like, and to a certain extent, it still is because I still have to hit my dad up sometimes for help, just because surprise bills comes in because I'm really tight, and I do the
Yeah.
best I can. I live very humbly, and it's still things just happen. Um, but I mean, yeah, as a guy, when you're in your late 20s living with your parents, it weighed on me. I imagine you probably go through the same thing.
Oh, I definitely do.
Yeah.
I'll admit it. Like I'm ready to leave this house. That's why I'm putting money away, and I probably have to give myself. I would say by the end of next year, I will be out of my house. So
That's
I'm happy
good.
with that. You just gotta set little goals,
Yeah.
to not make yourself insane, because obviously you're in your house and being in your childhood home, the one that you've known your entire life, like it's great and everything, but there comes a point in your life where you're just like, okay, like it's time to move on. It's time to, be a big boy and, go tackle the world. And so uh, that's it's draining. It's can be annoying, but you just save up as much as you can, and when you finally get that sense of independence and freedom, I'm sure it's a wonderful thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, it kind of wears off after a while. Like for the first like couple of months, it was just like I'd get home from work and I'd be like, I have my own place, kind of, because I still live with people.
Oh yeah,
That's the next goal is to get my own spot where I can have a dog. I really need a dog.
yeah. I love dogs.
Yeah.
I want like three or four big ones. So
If I could, I would. I just I'm
same.
in I'm not in a living situation where I can have one.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, mine are gone. The ones that we had at home, one of them died. The other one's in a shelter.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Uh, I was actually uh, I was hanging out with my dad and my sister recently. We were at a park. Um, Me and my sister were both like just like staring at people's dogs lustfully because we both miss having a dog so much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
we were
that's
checking
great.
out dogs like pervy guys check out women.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah,
But that's funny. Yeah, no, I get it with the dogs. I have two little ones. Well, they're like my parents' dogs, but they're kind of like my dogs too, because obviously, like, I see them all the time, and um, but yeah, no, I love dogs. Like, I don't have anything against cats, but I'm more of that dog person. Like, I want a black lab, chocolate lab, golden retriever.
mm.
You know, I'm gonna get them eventually. Just it's like I said, it's a step by step thing.
Yeah. I
But
really want a boxer.
yeah, but I like boxers. I
Yeah,
also like pit bulls too. People give
I
pit
love
bulls
pit
a bad
bulls.
rap.
Oh, it's every pit bull I've ever met has been the sweetest dog you'll ever meet. Like,
Exactly. Me too. Yeah.
and it's great because here on Staten Island, everybody has a pit bull for some reason.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I'll be walking down the street and it's a pit bull. I'm like, ah.
Yeah, no, they're great.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, same thing. Like every pit bull that I've met, like the guy who I'm working on the web series with, we filmed at his house for a scene, and he's got a pit bull Dalmatian mix, nicest dog. Felt like it. Tried being a lap dog. Thing weighs like 100-something pounds. So I was like, oh my god, you're heavy. But yeah, no, I love pit bulls. Like I just think it's how you raise them. Like I don't think they're trained to kill you. I think
well, there's some truth to it. They are naturally they're more likely to be aggressive if they're raised in the wrong way. Whereas like certain dogs just don't have the disposition to be a fighting dog.
right.
Whereas pit bulls are bred to be a fighting dog, to be more aggressive. But if you raise them right, it's not a problem. Although I've heard that it's an issue if you have two females. You should never have two female pit bulls.
Interesting. That's
because one will be the dominant, and they will, fuck the other one up.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
no, I'm sure. Like there's that one pit bull. She a female. She was awesome. I know a couple other my sister's husband's friends who have two pit bulls, and they're the nicest dogs. I mean, they're huge. I mean, they have to weigh like close to 100 pounds each. But I mean, they're the sweetest dogs, and like the last time I was at their house, the one will lay on you, and you feel like you can't breathe, but at the same time too, you got like this big ass blanket, being like, all right, I'm chilling.
My one dog, the one that died, she was basically my dog. Even though she was the family dog, she was mine. And she would, not so much in the later years, she got joint problems and she couldn't really jump up on the bed anymore. But she had a habit she liked sleeping in my bed. And a lot of times I let her, but the problem was they weren't huge. She was like maybe 50 pounds. But,
right.
Big enough that she took up a sizable chunk of the bed. And she hogged the covers, because I would have like just this narrow strip of the bed to sleep on, with just a little bit of covers that I'd have to gank.
Yeah, I had my childhood dog. I had a Belgian Malinois. It's a Irish herding dog, and she shed, but she was big, and I had this like full size bed at the time. And she took up half of it too. So like you, I get it. Like, you're trying to move. I'm trying to move her just to have like maybe 2 inches of like mattress where I can sleep.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's frustrating. Eventually, I would wind up having to kick her off because I couldn't get any sleep.
Yeah, no.
I always felt bad about it, but.
Well, I mean, I always let them sleep with. I always let that dog sleep with me, and it usually did until like 3-4 o'clock in the morning when my dad would, wake up and let her out and my other dog at the time. So, but yeah, she was such a nice dog. I definitely I had some fun times with that dog. I used to like, because growing up, like I didn't really have that many friends, and it wasn't by choice. You try to fit in with younger kids, and you want to be cool and you want to feel accepted, and it doesn't always work that way. So when I would come home from school, feeling kind of upset, I'd go outside and I'd play with my dog, and she I would take my I had a wiffle bat and a wiffle ball, and I would just practice, because I was playing baseball at the time. And I would just practice in the backyard, and she would always like go fetch the ball and bring it back to me. And
that's convenient.
Yeah, it was pretty convenient. It was like having my own pitch back.
Yeah.
So,
if you don't mind me asking, what you mentioned before that you got bullied a lot when you were in school. What would you mind sharing, like what you dealt with? Like what?
Yeah, of course. So I was a real skinny kid. So really the backstory to me is I was born with hypotonia, and what that is it's excess baby fat. So the muscles in the body just don't develop at a normal rate or a normal speed, and so it just took me a lot longer to put on weight and to put on muscle. And so I was naturally really, really skinny for my grade. I mean, everyone was probably like in like fifth grade. People were like probably like, yeah, I'd say 85, 90 pounds, and then and so on. And I was always like maybe 20 pounds under, so I was always skinny, and it was just very easy to like to push. And I had some friends, but I had a lot of people who would just constantly like just pick on me, like just say like just call me like names. Nothing. I didn't really have anything too bad happen to me except for one experience, which I'll get into in a minute. Um, and I just try to always be a good student, and I tried having a bunch of friends, and there were a couple of times where I would make myself do very like dumb things just to get a rise out of these kids so they would be friends with me, because I felt like I was kind of alone sometimes. That's why I had my childhood dog to really hang out with. And but like it was always like name calling, like stuff that like you hear all the time now, and you're just like, okay, man, whatever you say, or some bullshit like that. But I always took it to heart. And you brought up, you have a hard time letting go of things. That was me back in middle school. Like I just had a hard time of letting go of, they're just picking on you because they have nothing better to do. And so there was one kid in particular. His name was you know what, I won't even say his name. um who ended up being friends with for a while. And him and I, we used to hang out at each other's houses. We used to do the whole like the sleepover thing. And and then there came to a point where that stopped happening, and he became like a real bully to me.
Yeah,
And
that's a common thing.
yeah, it was really unexpected. So there was one time it was around, I think it was in 6th or 7th grade. I was I also had different learning disabilities, so I had to be put in another classroom with a bunch of other kids because of the disabilities that I had, like just constantly like not being able to picture things. You know how like you can like say, okay, picture, a brown dog running up a grassy hill with a blue ball. Like I couldn't do that back then. So I actually had to go to a learning center to learn how to do that. Um, so they put me in this class, and he was just always so nasty to me, and I never really understood why he. And so he said something. I don't remember the conversation, but it got him really, really upset. That I do remember. And so we're getting ready to go to gym class, and I'm all dressed, ready to go. I went to go to the bathroom, and next thing you know, he bear hugs me, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he takes me to the stall with that's, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And so I'm fighting, and meanwhile, I'm like, I have to be like 75, 80 pounds and no muscle. So I didn't really put up a fight with this kid. And so he took my head and he dunked it into the toilet. Now he didn't flush the toilet, but that's what he was trying to do. And he was trying to give me a swirly. And that turned my 7th grade self upside down. Like, why are you doing this? And then, I remember my teacher coming in and being like, guys, like, go to the gym. And I ended up going to the principal's office, and he ended up getting, I don't think he got suspended, but I think he, like, after our English class, which is another class I had with him, he ended up going home. But it turned out he was bipolar, and he had some other disabilities too. But I remember not wanting to go to school because of this kid. And someone who I really considered a friend at the time. And it hurt. It really hurt badly. So when I see kids being picked on, or I see on the news that a boy or a girl, killed themselves because they're being bullied, like that really hits me. It hits me in the heart. Um, because it makes me want to do something, because I feel like in today's world, they're trying to stress, how bullying is, we need to put it to an end, but I feel like they're not doing enough, and I feel like they have the wrong people in the wrong uh age market, trying to convince kids that are 30 years younger than them that they know what they're going through when they don't. Like
Yeah.
someone like me at 28 years old, like, I want to be able to talk to these kids and be like, look, the reason that they're picking on you is because they see the greatness and the potential in you, and they're just trying to bring you down to where they are. That's how I started, getting better, because I realized, like, all the kids that picked on me, it wasn't because they were picking on me because they had nothing better to do. It's because they saw my potential. They saw my potential before my parents, my family, my close friends now, and they were trying to do whatever it takes to bring me down, and not and just kind of live that stable, that low life, and feel like a piece of crap, and I was not going to put up with that.
I think the struggle with that though, and I get frustrated with a lot of the ways that they go about trying to cure bullying
Mm-hmm.
nowadays. Because I mean, to an extent, I think it is actually working. I don't think that bullying is nearly as bad nowadays, like with younger generations, as it was. I didn't experience it too bad or I didn't witness it much in my school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but from what I hear, I feel like the kids aren't getting bullied as bad nowadays. But
It's that's the thing. It's not happening as badly in school, but
on the internet, though,
it's social media.
yeah,
A girl puts a picture on Instagram, and is like using all these filters and this and that, and you have people commenting like, oh, like, you're beautiful, but then you got that one person that's like, oh yeah, you're kind of fat, and that can like change the mindset immediately, like, oh my god, now I'm fat, this and that, and then that's gonna, social media is, you have to use it respectfully. Like, you shouldn't always be on your phone all the time scrolling through what everyone else is doing, because that could make you feel less about yourself, like, oh, this person's doing this, and here I am just scrolling and watching them, live their life, and here I am just sitting in a room, or trying to make my life look more exciting than what it really is. And I think that's one of the biggest things too. And another thing too is, you have these kids, that are trying to come out as gay or lesbian or transgender, and they don't feel like they have a place where they can do that. And I feel like that's wrong. It's just like, you don't, like, one of the things is that you don't have to like everybody, but you should respect them. And people, I feel like they don't, because they're
mm-hmm.
constantly being bullied and picked on, and like, who cares if you're gay, who cares if you're trans, like, if that makes that person happy to come out and be like, hey, you know what, I'm gonna live my life the way I want to live it, and I don't give a damn what anyone else says, like, to me, like, I got that person's back 100%. That's why on my Instagram, there was one piece that I worked on for a monologue. It was about a father talking to his son who was being bullied in school, and I mean, that piece hit me so hard, like, I almost choked up recording it, because like, I felt everything, because in similar situations I was that little kid, and the main character, the dad, was my dad and my mom, talking to me about these things. And I really want to use my platform as an actor to really do something impactful in the world of anti-bullying. Like, that's one of the things that definitely keeps me going too. That's when I come back and say, I want to inspire people. I want to inspire especially that younger generation, so they can see exactly what I've been through and what a lot of other people have been through, and know that no matter what, you cannot give up. I don't care how bad it gets. Like, you have this problem where it's like, these kids try to talk to their parents like, you don't understand what I'm going through, and they say, yes, we do. No, you don't. You didn't have Instagram, you didn't have Facebook, you didn't have Twitter, you didn't have Tumblr, you didn't have any of that. You don't get it. And that's where I feel like my voice can be beneficial for that person, because like I do get it. I understand, because when I was in school, the biggest thing was AIM and MySpace, and that was just the platform of social media starting to to rise up. And but one of the things that too is that it's just like it really, like I'm very passionate when it comes to helping like kids that are being bullied, because like I've been there, and I know what they're going through, and I want to stop and just help them any way I possibly can.
Yeah. Did you get cyber in that era? Because you're the same age as me. Did you experience cyberbullying, or was that really even a thing yet?
I wouldn't say
Because I wasn't on social media until my senior year in high school.
Well, yeah, I got you beat. I wouldn't say it was cyberbullied. I mean, there was a couple times where people made comments. I was like upset about it, but I didn't like think of taking drastic measures into being like, my life is over, like how it is now. But no, I wasn't really cyberbullied. I wouldn't say that. It was more like in school where it's like, you kind of like get shoved into a locker, or I was put into a locker at one point. But like, yeah, nothing really like, I mean, when I had MySpace, like I had people like comment on my photos because I thought I was so cool. And some, were nice and some of them were not. But no, I wouldn't say I was really badly cyberbullied.
Yeah, that's what I figured, because that stuff, I don't think that stuff really started taking off until about like 2010, 2011, when we were all graduated from high school.
Right.
Because like even like social media was just starting out when we were in school, and it was very frivolous at the time. It wasn't what it is now, like
No,
by any stretch.
it's a whole different animal now.
Yeah.
And they probably just started when we graduated in high school. You graduated in 2009?
Yeah.
Okay, so I did too. So Facebook was just starting.
Yeah, that was really starting to hit at that point.
Yeah, Zuckerberg like just put out like that first ever, because Facebook was just for college kids, and then it became this big, and then obviously it became this big platform that we now know today. But yeah, there wasn't too much cyberbullying.
Probably because it was mostly MySpace, and MySpace wasn't that social.
No,
that was all about like what your page looked like.
I had like, when they said you could put your music on there, I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. I don't even remember what song I had, but I remember like you go to this person's page and they had like these like weird backgrounds, and that whole about me, like, what do you like, Pepsi or Coke? Like, I'll never forget that.
Yeah, I got into it too late. By the time I got into MySpace, nobody was on it anymore, and I quickly transitioned over to Facebook.
Because as soon as Facebook was, or as soon as MySpace was done, like that was it. Because you're like, there's no way in hell. And then like I think like a couple years later, Tom ended up selling MySpace, and now he's living a good life. So good for him.
Well, I think he sold it for $1 billion at the time.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Facebook's worth a hell of a lot more.
I don't even know how much that is now. I mean, you figured they bought WhatsApp for a few billion, like I think like 35 or some crazy number.
Mm-hmm.
They bought something. I know they bought Instagram for $4 billion. Yeah.
That's the thing too. They're like, what's bigger? What's going to be bigger than Facebook? And right now, I don't think it's gonna be bigger than Facebook.
Instagram, really.
Well, okay, Instagram.
Instagram's really the dominant one, and TikTok, I think is gonna creep up more and more.
I'm not too familiar with TikTok. Like, I've seen the ads on Facebook and stuff, but like,
I'm on it just because I want to. Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like Vine, yeah. It's one of those things that I'm on it just because I'm following the Gary V. He's got the that what was it? The 79-21 rule, where it's you put 79% of your effort all in on one like big platform, which right now is Instagram. Really is the platform you want to be putting, and then you want to be the other 21% is a little. You want to be working on all of the other ones: Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, LinkedIn, TikTok, right. Because you never know which one of those is going to overtake later on.
No, I'll agree to that.
Yeah.
But just getting back onto the whole bullying thing, like, you know, something needs to be done. Something needs to be done. I mean, there's not, like you said, there's not really too many like in school cases now, but social media is the biggest one, because you got people who, you could Snapchat the wrong thing and send it to a bunch of people, and you got Facebook who they can hack someone's account, and so there's different ways around it, and these kids just have to feel like there's people in the realm of their age that understand what they're going through, not their parents, not their not these old, like, I remember there was one speaker who was like, I know what you've been going through. No, you don't. Like, no.
Or you don't remember. You don't have the context anymore. Like, I can look back at things that maybe I thought were huge back when I was 12 and laugh at now. Like, it wouldn't faze me at all now.
Yeah.
So an adult really can't advise a kid that well, because we're looking at it as this small, tiny thing that's going to be completely inconsequential in 10 years.
Yes.
We have that experience. But to that kid, that's everything.
Yes.
So finding that context is difficult.
That's why as my platform, starts to increase, like, you're going to start seeing a lot more of me, doing what I can, if I have to start talking to schools, or if I have to start messaging people, like, I want to do that. I want, like, that's the kind of like just being an actor, that's only part of my plan. I love acting. I'm very passionate about acting and being an actor, and and go and climbing up the ranks, in that field. But there's still so much more that I want to do, and talking to kids and inspiring them to follow their dreams and their goals is definitely one of the biggest things that I want to accomplish. So if I can look back and, when it's my time to go, I can look back and say I lived a full life and I made an impact, and, I left, something that people are going to, really remember me for. Because, I just feel like there's just too many false idols right now. I'm not saying all of them are, but there's, there are a few that I'm just like, you got these people that are following this person, like, oh my God, they're like the greatest thing ever. And in reality, they're not what you need. They're not giving you the message that you need to live by. Like, I mean, I had people, like, growing up, I mean, my idols were, besides like my dad, like Derek Jeter from the New York Yankees. Like, he always stayed humble, and he was always grateful, and he worked his butt off. And even, he even said that, he went out and played like he was the best shortstop of all time, even though he may have not had the the what's the word I'm looking for? The, not even talent, but just the overall I'm really drawing a blank here.
Skill level.
Basically, there were others that were compared better than him, but he just took that, like, he let people talk, and he went out there and he gave it 150%, even though people thought that he wasn't the best or he was overrated. I always loved that, because he just, like, he didn't care about what other people thought. He went out and he played, and he'll now be remembered forever as a New York Yankee. So I just like look at that, look at his mindset. And I'm a huge Batman fan, huge.
That's my guy too.
That I love him. I mean, he always stood for truth, and he stood for doing what's right, and he just like and the thing is that he walked alone. Like if something needed to be done, you could count on Batman to save the day and and protect all these people. And I love that. I just love that mentality where it's just like, I don't need 50 people to accomplish this goal. Like I can handle it on my own. And Batman's just that kind of guy.
Yeah. I don't know if. I mean, I speak of a Batman fan. I don't know if Batman ever influenced my philosophy. I know other works of fiction did.
Okay.
Star Trek mainly. Star Trek had a big impact on me philosophically.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Star Trek fan. Not that I'm not like, I mean, I've seen it, but have I?
You just don't know a lot.
I don't know a lot. No, just like Star Wars. Like I've seen all the movies, but can I like if you started talking about an episode and this and that, I'd have no idea exactly.
Well, what I'll say is there's one particular episode of Star Trek. It's called Measure of a Man. It's from The Next Generation, which was the early 90s one, the late 80s, early 90s series with Patrick Stewart. And there was a character on that particular series called Data, who was an android. And that episode was about Data. He's basically on trial for whether or not he is property of Starfleet or if he's his own being. And so that episode in particular really influenced my philosophies on that, because that's something that's coming real soon. Like we're going to be dealing with that possibly in our lifetime, like having those questions.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's talking about it, or not enough people are talking about it. It sounds weird for me to be concerned about that because we have so many other pressing issues right now, and I totally get that. But I look at our track record with civil rights now, which is not good, and then I look at the future when we create superior beings. It's not going to be good. I don't trust us to handle that well. Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I can comment with that is that, with anything, you just gotta be ready. I mean, you say we're not going to handle it well, but at the same time too, maybe there's someone out there who knows like what we need to do and is talking to whoever they need to talk to currently. And you never know. But
I'm an eternal optimist with this stuff, but there's some things in our world that worry me with our prepping for certain technologies that are coming, and we're not prepping for that we should be now.
Like that show, I stopped watching it because I was like, okay, like the Doomsday Preppers.
No.
Okay.
No, I've never watched that.
It's okay. Like, I mean, these are people who, are very post-apocalyptic, believers. And so what will end up happening is they'll start off the show and they'll say exactly what they believe can happen. And then they'll go through their prepping and this and that. And then at the end of the episode, they'll tell you exactly what that person said, and then actually given like proven facts of like, okay, it would take this to happen, this to happen, this to happen, this to happen. And then at the end of the episode, you're kind of feeling like, okay, well, he made a good point, but then you see all this description, like we are way more advanced than people know. They're just, they're just going to keep it under wraps until.
Yeah. Well, the military gets everything way before we do.
Oh yeah.
But the one thing I actually admire those. It's easy to look at those Doomsday Preppers as crazy, and even I do, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But I do think that there's a very thin veil of civilization because all you have to do is look at like a natural disaster
Mm-hmm.
that's not taken care of well, like that maybe FEMA doesn't come in and respond in time, and you can see true humanity. Like sometimes you see people, it turns them really good, but a lot of times, like when humans are desperate, we go to a dark place,
Yeah,
and you know,
I,
uh,
I like I. That's why people when they saw the first trailer for The Division, they were like, "This is kind of like could be real life." I was like, eh, a virus being transported, on money.
yeah,
We'll
I
see.
never played that. I didn't know that was the story
Oh,
of
it's
that
such
game.
a good game. They just came out with Division 2. I haven't checked it out yet, but uh, because I don't have time. Like in my
Same.
life right now, I don't have time to sit down and play a video game for hours. Like there's so much I have to do, and there's stuff that I need to work on. Uh, but like when I did have some free time, I did play the Division, and it was a good game. It was it's kind of post-apocalyptic, but it's got a cool backstory. But if I had to say, if you asked me what kind of video game I would play if I had like a ton of time, like where I didn't have anything going on that day, it would have to be any Batman Arkham game.
Those are
Those
fun.
those are amazing. Even the ones that like people don't like, I love them. Like probably my list. Like honestly, people give Arkham Asylum, Arkham Knight a bad rap because there's like too much Batmobile and this and that. I
I
thought
liked Arkham Knight a lot.
me too, and that's
Yeah,
why
I thoroughly enjoyed that game.
I can't wait for the next one.
I don't
Whatever.
think there's going to be another one. That series is done.
I don't know
Uh,
because I follow Rocksteady and I follow Warner Brothers Montreal on Twitter, and they're saying that they're working on something, and they had a little teaser of one of the video editors wearing a shirt that looked identical to the logo of the Court of Owls. So
whatever they do, can they leave the Joker dead? Because that was the one thing that
exactly,
annoyed me in
I'm
Arkham
fine
Knight.
with that. I would be
See,
fine with.
I love the Joker, but it's enough. I mean, Batman has so many other great villains, Mr. Freeze,
Yeah,
and they get so ignored. Everybody goes to the Joker, but like Batman is the best rogues gallery at anybody,
oh, hands down.
and people only talk about the Joker.
Well, because the Joker he's an iconic villain. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't like what are you gonna talk about? Metallo from Superman or um oh my god. I don't know too many. Like, I mean, I know a couple. Like, because I used to watch Batman and Superman, like when they had that on Warner Brothers, like back when I was younger. So I'm trying to remember like all the villains that Superman had. Besides, like
I don't I don't know any of them really. I know
they
like Brainiac and
they need to do a Superman Brainiac movie. I'll go see that.
maybe they will if they do another Man of Steel. I don't know when that's happening.
Well, or I'll audition for that. One of the two.
Yeah.
You
All
could.
right, we're getting towards the end. I ask the same two questions at the end. What the first one is what is your biggest like insecurity that holds you back uh in your career, and what do you think is your biggest strength that yeah.
The biggest insecurity, that thing that holds me back. Probably caring too much about what people think is definitely the biggest because with everything that I've done up to this point, when I'm posting on Instagram or Facebook, like I've had the back of my mind where it's like you want people to like you, but at the same time too, there's going to be that person that's like, hey, you suck, and you got to kind of be able to just keep moving forward. Uh, And what was the second question?
What do you think is your biggest strength?
My biggest strength.
Besides your acting, because that's like, I'm more talking about character-based things than.
Okay, yeah. My biggest strength, probably, I have. I'm not. I'm not afraid to speak my to pretty much to speak my mind. Like if I'm talking to you and something's bothering me, I'm very forthcoming. I just don't. I don't know if that's a strength.
No, actually, I think that's great that you have that as an ability, because, especially in what you do, because actors, I mean, everybody that works in this business is, to a certain extent, we're all full of shit. Like, even if we're trying really hard not to be, we are to a certain extent. But I think actors in particular have to really struggle with being authentic, because they're in the public eye. They're the people that people focus on the most, and so they have to put up the biggest barrier. So being that forthcoming like that is really good. It'll keep you sane.
Exactly. You got to speak your mind, and because in today, things happen, like controversies happen, and you have these people, you have these actors and actresses that are paying these tabloids to be like, oh my God, don't post this, don't post that. Just own up to it and just be like, all right, I did it, because then automatically you're already cutting them at the source, because they can't post, they can't do anything else. They can't, if you make a mistake, if you fuck up, then you fucked up. But own it. That's the best piece of advice. Just from watching people and watching actors and actresses who I definitely look, like a lot of them, they stay out of the spotlight, and if they do surface, they just stay humble about it, like I've said in this interview, and that's. But yes, I'm very forthcoming. Like if something is going to bother me, you're gonna know, and I'm gonna tell you in a way that it's constructive criticism, and you may not like it, but it is what it is.
It's something I struggle with, to be like that, but I definitely try. Like, I don't necessarily go out of my way to be, but like, I also, if somebody asks me directly what I think about something, I will tell them how I feel. I just don't. I don't go out of my way to give my opinion, but if you ask it of me, I will give it, because I don't. I want everybody to be better, and I want me to be better. So if somebody asks me if their movie is shit, I might, or if they want a critique on their movie, I'll be like, "Are you sure? Are you sure you want a critique? Because I'm gonna give it to you."
Because that's how you get better. If people just if we just say to people, if I were to do a piece moving forward from whether it's the web series or it's another movie, I don't want people to just tell me, oh wow, that was really good. No, if I'm crap, tell me. Like, just like I'm not gonna. I will kind of poke you until you just say it, because then I can have respect for you, rather than you be like, no, it was really good, and then I find out you're talking behind my back. Like, don't do that.
No.
So, but that's kind of where I stand. But as I'll have to work on coming up with a strength, because I haven't really thought of that too seriously. So
I struggled with it on the first episode too. I said I was reliable.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's true. I do go out of my way to be as reliable as possible, because I think that's the most important asset you can have in this business.
Mm-hmm.
Almost above your actual ability to do your job.
Right.
If you could show up, you're gonna do fine.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with that. But yeah, it's all about learning. If you stop learning, then that's when you start dying. So just keep learning. Keep living.
All right. On that note, that is going to be the end of episode 4 of Impostor Syndrome. This
Awesome.
has been Matt
Thank you.
Powers. Give them their social media links anywhere.
Yeah, so you guys can follow me on Instagram. It's at Matthew J Powers, all lowercase. Twitter, I believe, is Matt Powers 92, and then you can also find me on Facebook, just at Matt Powers, and I believe LinkedIn, same Matt Powers. But I keep putting out content on all those platforms, so yeah, definitely follow me. Take a look at my stuff, and I'll be posting more in the upcoming future.
All right, cool. And I'm gonna stop recording now. Bye, guys.
All right.